All right, hello again. We're going to be looking at solving inequalities with multiplication and division. So let's get into it. It's the same sort of process of when we are solving inequalities with addition and subtraction, but now we're using multiplication and division. We're still going to be using the inverse operations to solve for our variable, and then as a result, when we solve for the variable, we will get all possible solutions that will work for this inequality. Then we'll have to graph them. So let's get into the first example. Solve the inequality d over 7 is greater than 15. Okay, so let's look at this. D over 7 is greater than 15. I have a couple empty boxes. We're going to be filling these in as we work. All right, so if I want to get rid of the d, if I want to get the d over 7 by itself, when you are multiplying a fraction, to eliminate is we need to multiply by its reciprocal. In this case, I'm going to multiply by the denominator on both sides. So in this case, it's 7 over 1. And I'm going to multiply on this side by 7 over 1. Because these will cancel out. And all I have left over here is just the d. The sign's going to stay the same because it's still greater than. So d is greater than 15 multiplied by 7. Let's just do a little quick little math over here. 7 multiplied by 5 is 35, 105. So d is greater than 105. It's not greater than or equal to, so it's going to be just an open circle because the answer does not have to be included in it. All it's saying is that d is greater than 105, so I'm going to find 105. There's 100, and here's 105 right there. And since it's greater than, d has to be greater than any of these values. And if we wanted to check that, you can always go back to our original inequality. D over 7 is greater than 15. And I can pick any number. So let's pick 120, for instance. I'm going to substitute that into the d. So 120 divided by 7 if we do a quick little math, 120 divided by 7 is going to give me, well, it's a decimal, 17.14. And that is greater than 15. So we know that this checks out. So 120 would be a solution. So this is the simplest it gets. It's one step. When we have our fraction, right here, we must multiply by its reciprocal to cancel out the 7s. All right, let's look at another one. All right, example 2. Solve the inequality. Negative 3.4m is less than or equal to 17. So now we have negatives in here. Negatives are going to have an important rule to them when we are using our division. So I'm going to rewrite our inequality. So just have it so I have enough room. Negative 3.4m is less than or equal to 17. It's less than or equal to, so that means it's going to be a closed circle on our graph. So keep that in mind. It's telling you that our m variable can be included, so it's going to be closed. Now I have multiplication. I need to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division. So I need to divide by the same value on each side. these cancel each other out because a number divided by itself is 1. So all I have left is m. I'm going to change my sign because when you divide by a negative, it changes the inequality sign. That's called the division property of inequality. All right? By dividing by a negative, the value is going to reverse the inequality sign. And I'll explain that in a second. So let's finish up our inequality of 17 divided by negative 3.4. 17 divided by negative 3.4 gives me negative 5. Okay? Easy enough. I just did division, and I found what my m values can be. But the thing that changed was the direction of my inequality sign. So let's look at why that happened. But the first thing I need to do is need to draw my table so I can explore that. All right, so let's just pick 0. Here's negative 5. We know that it's equal to, so it's going to be a closed circle. So let's fill that in right now. So I'm negative 5. It's a closed circle. But the question is, am I going to be going to the right or am I going to be going to the left? That's where we need to test our values. So an easy number I like to test is 0. Okay. So if m is greater than negative 5, I'm going to pick a number that's greater than negative 5. So let's test 0. So I'm going to go back up to my original inequality, negative 3.4m is less than or equal to 17. I'm going to substitute my m value that I'm testing, which is the x1, and plug it into my inequality. So negative 3.4 multiplied by 0 is less than or equal to 17. So a number multiplied by 0 is just 0. 0 is definitely less than or equal to 17. So this checks out. So my solutions are negative 5 going to the right because we know that 0 is a solution. Because 0 checks out, so 0 must be on the point. So that's why our sign changed to m is greater than or equal to negative 5. Because in terms of negatives, all the numbers that are greater than negative 5 and equal to could be negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0. All of these points lie here. Here's negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. So when you are dividing by a negative, that's going to cause our inequality sign to change direction. We got one more. Okay, here's our last problem. For example, 3 says solve the inequality r divided by negative 2.5 is greater than or equal to 7. You need to solve the inequality and then graph the solution as well. So I'm going to write it a little bit bigger so we can manipulate it. So I have 7 divided by negative 2.5 is greater than or equal to 7. Here we have the option, or we have the line that means equal to. So that means whatever r is, it's included in the answer set. So it's going to be a closed circle. Now we're going to use our inverse operations to solve for r in our inequality. So I need to multiply by the denominator on both sides. So negative 2.25 over 1 on one side and then multiply by negative 2.25 over 1 on the other side as well. When you divide a number by itself, it cancels out. Now all I have left with is r over 1, which is just equivalent to r. Now when you multiply by a negative, it's the same thing as you divide. It's the multiplication property of inequalities. So you need to reverse the inequality sign. So instead of it being greater than or equal to, it's going to reverse to less than or equal to. 7 multiplied by negative 2.25 is negative 15.75. Now I just graph my solution. Here's 0. Here's negative 15.75. It's a closed circle because we indicated that it's equal to. So I'm going to close my circle, and r is less than negative 15.75. So remember, when you're dealing with negatives, the more negative you are, the smaller the number it actually is. So I am moving to the left. So anything that is more negative, so for instance, negative 15.8 is more negative than negative 15.75. And that would end up being right here. Negative 16 is less than. Negative 16.5 is less than. Negative 105.25 is still less than negative 15.75. And that's it.